Ow, when it comes to Drake, well, after I woke up and saw this, and also saw what the biggest loser in hip-hop just did well. The time is up. And today, we are going to be going all in on the weirdest and most desperate clown that rap has ever seen. And now, before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, so the Drake fans know that this downfall will never end, no matter how hard they try and hide it. And now, with that said, when it comes to Drake, well, not too long ago it may have seemed like Drake was near a point where he was giving up with all the clown antics, and rap was being fully restored back into a genre with great artists and great bars. And nothing else. I should have known that it wasn't going to last, and that the man who has been responsible for more problems than anyone else in this genre for years now was going to come back. Because right in this moment, well, somehow Drake has returned and is making a more aggressive, annoying, and obnoxious push than ever to be relevant and successful in this era, where people have still never been lower on him in his entire career. And now, while there are multiple ways that Drake has tried to do this so far, and really with all of the cloud chasing he is doing right now, it is going to take a lot to process out of everything we have seen. What is getting the most attention right now, and what is also the most jarring, is what Drake is doing right now with none other than Kai Cenat and the streaming community as a whole, as between Drake joining Kai and the rest of the streaming community at his Streamers University event, to Drake even going behind the scenes and begging Kai to direct his next music video so it does not flop like Nokia did well right now. Drake is being more pathetic than ever because he is pretty much just humiliating himself to get the validation of the entire streamer community. And now, before we get into what this really means and how pathetic this is all getting, if you haven't already, really be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are almost at 100. Meanwhile, 0 subscribers, so it has never been more important. And now, with that said, really, with Drake, and why I said what I said before, the loser, Drake fans made me come back out and just roast a guy I thought that he was finally going to at least plateau in terms of the amount of humiliation that he could possibly endure. But of course, I should have known better. This is Drake we are talking about at the end of the day. And the more we are watching this guy who lost so bad that he brought paperwork into a rap beef, he is managing to make literally everything that he has ever done just remembered within a worse light. And now, most recently, well, with what Drake is doing, that is both pathetic and is just showcasing how little respect he has for anything. He represents all centers around the guy's need to be more friendly with streamers than any other group of people. And specifically in this discussion, one of the biggest people out right now in any category you put him in, of course, none other than Kai Cenat, and now with Drake. And Kai, well, after Kai has finally become the first person in the streamer community to not just praise Drake for whatever he has done, and has actually spoken his mind about him, which has included Kai saying such things as that Kendrick Lamar won the beef against Drake, and even saying that Drake's Nokia video was awful. Well, with this, Kai already took a bold leap as he became the only guy in the entire streamer community, it felt like, to criticize Drake. And now, compared to everybody else, what we have now seen is that for Kai Cenat, well, he is so popular and he is so captive of the audience that Drake so desperately wishes he had control of that. Kai has now become the first person who has done or said anything slightly negative about Drake, and the biggest clown in hip-hop has had no other choice than just continue to beg him for any sort of help, because he has more clout and influence than Drake over this group of people who Drake so desperately wishes he had all on his side. And if they had to choose between Drake or Kai, well, I think Drake even understands at this point that this younger and more impressionable audience would choose Kai over him every single day of the week. And now with this, as Drake would have nothing in terms of major support if he went against Kai, because Kendrick now has control of hip-hop and Kai has control of this audience that he wants. Well, Drake is now in an era where he at least has accepted that he is number 2 to Kai, and he is now trying to get on his good side however he can. Now, the first thing that Drake is doing with Kai is getting him to direct his next music video, which is hilarious because due to Kai's major criticism of Nokia, which was that the video was so boring, and it made a record that he believed was fun. So lame, well, now Drake has pretty much fan-casted Kai to try and gain any goodwill that he has lost back. But now beyond just this, what has stood out, and what Drake is going more viral for than anything else he has recently, is the cringe, confusing, and laughable keynote speaker that he ended up being for Kai's insanely viral streamer, University. And now, with Drake making an appearance here, well, once again, Drake is showing that he is going to do anything that Kai asked him to at this point. And he is really going to try and stay in his good graces, no matter what. And really for Drake, what's so shocking here, considering even the production value of what he did here, is that Drake is working harder to impress Kai and these streamers than he is to actually impress and show that he cares about rapping or the hip-hop community as a whole, because between the setting and the speech that I'm sure he had somebody else write, and then that he read for everybody to see, well, overall what we are seeing with Drake that is so clear here is that with this opportunity of streamer, University, and with this moment where Kai asked him to speak in this big setting, he really pulled out all of the stops here to do one and one thing only, which is to get every single streamer at this thing, and every streamer in general on his side. Because again, for Drake, this is the audience that he doesn't just want, but needs for this next chapter in his career to both control and build narratives that will support him in any capacity, and just to once again make sure that no matter what other criticism he gets, he will have the community of generally the most immature and ready to clout chase people by his side. Because in an era where narratives move and spread based on who is the loudest and the most obnoxious, really, well, if Drake is these people telling their audiences that his music is cool still, and that he is actually the person on the right side in hip-hop history, well, we have already seen the impact of this, and it's really been the only reason why Drake has had any sort of relevancy. Because aside from weirdo streamers, everybody else has been repulsed to the guy. And now, as Drake made this massive play for the entire streaming community here in this speech that all these names were losing it over, he made sure to really lock in with the future of this community and with some of the questionable names at the forefront of it. At that, as Drake was really doing tricks here by telling these streamers how much he believes in them, and then overall telling them pretty much everything they want to heart, but pretty much make sure that they will never go against him no matter what. And now, within this speech from Drake, by specifically shouting out some people who he really likes and wants them to keep pushing the ridiculous narratives that he needs to keep his career and ego running well, Drake made sure to shout out some of the leaders of this community in his eyes, and really did this just to make sure that they continue to be some of the loudest supporters for Team Drake. And who he said most prominently here was none other than DDG, and with Drake doing this, he just revealed so much about himself and his fan base for that matter. And now when you see the Drake fans, just remember that Ovo Drake, and anybody who even stands close to them, doesn't stand on absolutely anything other than disliking Kendrick Lamar and liking mediocre music and people, and overall, as a result of this, just being obsessed with wallowing in immaturity. Because really, when we break down Drake's actions here, and specifically his support of DDG, well, if we want to really look at the truth and put Drake's little moral gotcha moments that he tries to have, and also Ovo does as well, into perspective, while the Drake community has tried to act like the stuff he said about Kendrick on Family Matters really happened with him and Whitney, and Kendrick is this awful person because of this, who should be called out for being a monster and who should have none of the success that it gets. Although, of course, there has been no proof of these claims from Drake. And in actuality, with any of the people that Drake said were affected by Kendrick, they have never spoken against him. And matter of fact, as Kendrick is still with Whitney and her brother Taylor is so close with the guy that they just did a Gatorade collab, everything leans towards the opposite well for both Drake and his fans. They try to act like they care about morals and what Kendrick did off a baseless claim. And then we see the DDG situation that he is in, and there is a lot of clear proof that he did some unspeakable and terrible things there, and yet Drake is still championing him and acting like he is this great guy. Well, Drake and Ovo just show that this has never been about morals or anything like that for them. And really, and why Drake loves DDG, is because their only goal has been to never face the ugly reality of the type of people that they really are inside, really with Drake and Kai, and this push to be friends with all of these streamers who just speak to audiences that he wants so bad on his side. Well, with this specific moment from Drake that you would call a slip if this wasn't intentional. Well, with this specific moment from Drake, that if his fans had any sort of critical thinking ability, would be an absolute slip on his end in terms of just revealing that he is a sheer and utter fraud. We really can see the disturbing truth about who Drake really is here, which is just that he is a desperate clout chaser who wants the pull of the most impressionable and easy to please audiences also, that he can build his career off running away from any sort of maturity or growth that somebody can have, to be honest. When we see Drake trying to rig the game and be all buddy-buddy with these streamers, both with the way that a lot of them flock to him and how he flocks to them. What it really reminds me of is Kendrick Lamar's mysterious Black Air Forces song, which released out of nowhere before GNX dropped, and specifically how Kendrick talked about everything wrong with this metaphorical party and all that's going on in and around hip-hop. And when talking about the media, personalities and characters like Drake, who just make these spaces so terrible to be in. Sometimes Kendrick said about Drake A and all these other guys where the shoe fits, that they don't actually hate him, but they hate the man he represents. And I think that sentiment has really never been more true, because with Drake and all these streamers who clap and go crazy when he dumbs down his raps enough also, that these people who don't actually care about hip-hop can understand it and chase clout right behind him. A lot of these names just want to wallow in the lamest and most immature of antics, because it's easy for them because they can keep on running away from the truth of who they are. And really, when we look at Drake as a whole and why the streamers do love him as much as he is chasing them, well, it's because being the age he is and still acting like half of it is the exact dream of what all of these people want. And now, while Drake is embarrassing himself here to us and has pretty much had to swallow his pride for Kai Cenat's approval, and it's really hilarious to see Drake's iconic duos going from Lil Wayne and Rick Ross to DDG. No matter how much everybody else laughs at Drake, what he is still doing here is going to help him in terms of keeping the cloud chaser annoying community in his praises. But I mean, as we look at the state of rap music now and see what Kendrick Lamar is doing just to change everything in general, well, what we can all say is that no matter what, while this community will continue to support Drake and make him a problem for a long time, hip-hop as a force is moving past this ridiculous era. And now for this reason, while Drake thinks that these people are going to take him back to that #1 spot, I don't think he understands that. No matter how weird he gets, and no matter what antics he tries to pull with what audience behind it, it's all just too late. And unless he matures, nobody wants more Drake. And so, now with all of that said, let me know, what do you think about these ridiculous attempts from Drake to clout chase with these streamers, and Kai Cenat specifically, and going forward? What do you think this is going to amount to for Drake? And do you think that this will actually help him going forward? Or do you think it's just going to make him look more pathetic to everybody else in the room? Now I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Know if you want to. See how in this time right before this, Kendrick Lamar just sent another message to both Drake and Joey that is showing that no matter how they try to move and what they are going to do next, Kendrick is going to keep commanding and winning there. Beefs view the recommended video.